Hey everybody, welcome back to Florimagoria. Today we are going to tackle that most important of subjects, fertilizer. I know, I've been talking about making this fertilizer for a long time. We're finally going to do it today. I promise. You know, probably. All signs point to probably. Anyway, so before we get started, before me, you can see. Well, this is just my rosemary plant. This is the poor plant we're going to be experimenting with today, using for our soil. Because as you can see, it's a little puny. It's healthy, but it's a little bit puny. Could use a little bit of a boost of fertilizer, I suppose. But here we have the essential elements of a great fertilizer. And we have, we're going to talk about most of these individually and how you can use some of them individually to help your plants. So I'm going to be referring to my notes here because I didn't have time to memorize all this. Okay, so the first most important element in any good fertilizer is phosphorus. That is basically the building blocks of the plant, pretty much. So you want to make sure that you have enough phosphorus in your fertilizer to really help. Now, the good thing about that is that we get phosphorus from a couple of different sources in this fertilizer. There's a little bit in eggshells, there's a good bit in bananas, and there's also a really good bit in wood ash. Now, the wood ash is literally just wood I burned down in my fire pit and I pulled out. And not only does it have a good bit of phosphorus in it, but it's also sort of a nice wide spectrum fertilizer. It has a lot of other stuff in it. And something that you can do with it on its own, which is also very important, it's really good at helping plants grow. So you can sow it into your soil when plants are just coming up, and it'll really help strengthen them at that stage. It's a good boost of energy at that stage. Let's see. You can also use bone meal for phosphorus. That's also a very popular one. If you're just doing a plain phosphorus bump, bone meal is a really good choice. It's pretty easy to find. Or you can make it yourself. I haven't tried that, but maybe on next year's show we'll give making bone meal a try. It looks pretty fun. I don't know. I have a feeling it's not going to smell very good, but it looks interesting. Okay, so that is our wood ash. Now, probably the next most important thing that you have that you need in your fertilizer is nitrogen. And this is where it gets a little gross, okay? And this is where YouTube might yell at me. But quite frankly, the best source of nitrogen, if you don't drink coffee. Coffee is good for nitrogen, but it can make your soil annoyingly acidic. Of course, if you use your wood ash, it helps balance that out. Quite frankly, though, the best source of nitrogen I found is pee. Yeah, it's urine. This is not my urine. This is water, because I didn't really feel like doing that for the show, and it's in a mug that you can't see through because I have a feeling YouTube is going to yell at me about this. But nitrogen is very important because, let me look at my notes here. It helps encourage photosynthesis and creating plant cells, and you can tell if you have a deficiency in it because you'll have a lot of yellow leaves, especially like the bottom of the plant. But urine has an extraordinary amount of nitrogen in it, but the thing is you need to avoid putting it in straight. Like, you don't want to just pour urine on your plants because you can burn them. You definitely want to have it's about 5-to-1 ratio of 4-to-1, 5-to-1 ratio of urine to water. It will provide, you'll get enough nitrogen, but you won't damage the plants. Again, you can just use coffee grounds if you have plants that are really tolerant to extreme acidity. That's fine too. It's less messy. Okay, so I have a story about this one. And this is something I've known for a long time, ever since I was a kid. One of the unusual old Italian ladies that I'm related to. One of my grandmother's cousins, many cousins from back in the old country. Um, she used to have a big garden. Everyone in her family, farmers, gardeners, stuff like that. It's including, third cousins who, when you're Italian, they're part of the family. But anyway, so what she used to do is she'd be out in her garden working all day, and she'd wear just long house dresses, which was common at the time because this would have been in like the early, like the 1920s or 30s. And no underwear, and anytime she had to go, she'd just squat in her garden. And I mean, it didn't hurt the plants. It actually helped them. But if you do that, just emotionally, you're just gonna want to give them an extra wash when you bring them in. Or yeah. Oh, I'm gonna get in trouble for this one. Anyway, okay, so that is your nitrogen needs. Seriously, just water it down a little bit, pop it on. It works great. It's gross, but it works great. I mean, if you have an unusual diet, it might be a problem. I tend to drink a lot of water, mostly water and some tea, hot tea, for breakfast. So, it's not, my urine is pretty clear. Why am I talking about this? Oh my God. Okay. So it's not something I have to worry about. Don't use the other stuff that comes out. That's bad. I'm going to get off this topic now. Yeah. Okay, so for the next one, we have magnesium. Now, a good thing to do with magnesium, there is a bit of an issue. There's a lot of magnesium deficient soil in the United States. It has become a problem, and a lot of people tend to be magnesium deficient also. And it's definitely something that you sweat out a lot. So it's not a bad idea to get your magnesium levels checked next time you have blood work. There's a lot of energy drinks that have magnesium in them. I drink this stuff that it's coconut water. So like whenever I'm outside doing yard work or something, if I sweat a lot, I'll have a bottle, and it definitely helps significantly. But if you find yourself getting, kind of sluggish, tired, not in any significant way, but just enough to be annoying, it could be magnesium. It's definitely something to keep in mind. It's a lot more important than people think. So anyway, that being said, the best thing for magnesium is Epsom salts. Now, Epsom salts you can usually find in the healthcare aisle. These were by the alcohol wipes and the Band-Aids. So, magnesium is important for energy conversion and consumption. And you can use Epsom salts just by themselves. You can sow them in to a plant. We'll give this a little bit. For a little bit of a boost, if they seem like they're a little bit sluggish, all you need to do is just, we'll do this on half the plant, but my eggshells on the other half the plant. Just dig a little bit underneath. Take some Epsom salts and just give it a little bit of a sprinkle. And as you water, this is also what you do with normal fertilizer too, that you don't make at home. As you water, the nutrients will break down, dissolve the Epsom salts in the soil, and all those nutrients will just give your plant a nice little boost. It's definitely something that you can use on its own. You would think that salt would destroy the plant, but it's magnesium sulfate. It's not normal table salt or rock salt or anything like that. So this is definitely adds a nice little boost. Now, another important part is, of course, potassium. Let me find my notes here. Potassium strengthens resistance to disease and resistance to temperature, and helps give a healthy root system. The best thing for potassium is bananas. It's the same with people. Potassium is very important. Eat your bananas. I try to eat bananas on a regular basis with breakfast. I tend to be prone to Because of my various disabilities, I tend to be prone to vitamin deficiencies. So I try to keep up with things as much as I can. So I do eat a lot of bananas. But bananas, like I said, also contain phosphorus. They contain just a buttload of potassium. It's really excellent. Yeah, that's about all this. These are super important. And then, last but not least, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Yeah. Yeah, 5. I know what I'm doing. Last but not least is calcium. And the best thing for calcium is, of course, eggs. It's essential for strong cell walls and for transport for other minerals. And calcium deficiency can cause stunted growth. Glad I wrote this stuff down. I would not have remembered it. So anyway, eggshells are great for calcium. What I sometimes do is, this is literally just crunched up eggshells. Now you can cook these down, like we're going to do in a second, or you can use them like you did with the Epsom salts, and just sow them into the soil of a plant, basically. Now, all I did was I took the eggshells from breakfast, because again, I have to maintain, certain things in order to keep myself from, not dying. Eating significant amounts of protein is part of it. But anyway, so I take the eggshells from breakfast. I wash them, let them sit them out, and let them dry, and then take my mortar and pestle, or more likely a food processor, and just chop them up. I made a lot. I don't know why I made this many, because this is insane. I do not need this many. But anyway, just like we did with the Epsom salt, we're going to go ahead and use the other side of the plant this time. My poor rosemary plant, oh my gosh. And you just do the same thing. Just give it a nice little coating, cover it back up with soil. There you go. It'll keep pumping in some calcium into your plants. And you should notice some significant differences from them. Okay. So now what we're going to do is make my special liquid fertilizer blend. So we need to actually use the stove for this, so it's going to be kind of like a Kitchen Witchin' episode, but not quite. So let me move the camera and get that all set up, and we'll be back in a second. Okay, we're back. Hey! We are back at our stove top view, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Alright, so we've got water on. This is a little over about a half a pot. Normally when I do this, I'll save stuff from about a week or so, keep it in the fridge, and I'll have, like a week's worth of banana peels and eggshells and stuff like that, and I'll do a couple of pots of this and just, cover all my plants. But just for demonstration purposes, this is a little over a half or so. Yeah. I like to use distilled water, especially, or spring water, but you have to pay for it. So if the tap water in the area where you live doesn't suck completely, you can use tap water, or you can use like filtered water if you have like a Brita pitcher or something like that. They keep in the fridge. Obviously the best is going to be your distilled water. But, whatever you want to use, it's fine. So we're going to go ahead and toss in our banana peels. It's been like brain fart day all day, oh my god. And as you can see, I've kind of pulled some of these apart. You can kind of tear them at the seams a little bit. We have some eggs. Some of these I've already crunched up. Now I have this on the big burner at high heat. And then we're going to just go ahead and pour in some of our Epsom salts. bowl of wood ash, and this is going to be a mess. Put that in. Use some of these like bigger pieces, let them cook down and break down a little bit. Okay, now what we're going to do is bring this to a boil, which would help if I had my lid and I do not know where I put it. So basically we're going to just bring this all to a boil and then bring it down to a simmer and let it cook on low on a simmer for a little while until it reduces, maybe not quite to half, but maybe about to 2/3. Let it cool, and then we're going to strain the solids out, add our magical 5th ingredient for our nitrogen that we talked about earlier. Honestly, like, I shouldn't be so weird about saying it. I'm not in daily life, but I honestly do not know what YouTube's policies are about this. I really have no idea, so I don't want to press my luck, you know. But okay, we're gonna let this come to a boil and go from there. Okay, we are back, and as you can hear, probably see the steam, we are at a nice rolling boil here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and drop this down to about medium-low. Okay, give it a bit of a stir. Looks delicious, right? Smells amazing. Burnt banana farts. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and leave that uncovered, let it simmer for probably, I don't know, 20 minutes to an hour, depending on what your definition of simmering is. What we want to do is reduce it to a half or 2/3 of what it is now. So, you know, however long it takes to do that. I'll time it and I'll let you know when we hit that part of the show. Okay. Okay, we are back. As you can see, our mixture cooked down to about half, 2/3 or so. Is exactly what we wanted. And at a nice light simmer, uncovered, it took about 2 hours. Maybe a little extra. I cheated a little bit, but you know, it's a show. I'm in shapewear, damn it. This is not. I'm gonna cheat for time a little bit. But okay. So that is looking pretty perfect. So what we're gonna do is just leave this out, let it cool down to room temperature, and then we can go ahead and strain it out. So it'll be another couple hours. You could just, you know, leave it until you come back in the kitchen to make dinner or something. Leave it overnight. Just let it cool down, and yep, we'll be back in a sec. Okay, we are back. Now we've cooked down our non-appetizing in any way fertilizer liquid, and we let it cool, and now we can go ahead and at our final step, our, you know, liquid. Now, like I said, for the nitrogen, you want to make sure that it's 5 parts water or liquid to 1 part urine. Or coffee grounds. You can use coffee grounds. It's fine. It's less gross. But I tend to put that in after everything is cool. You don't want to cook it down. It's fine in its form as it comes out. Oh my god. Okay. So we're going to take our handy dandy little strainer here. Well, it's just a small amount for now. I'm not going to do the whole thing. But, as you can see, that is some really fantastic fertilizer we got going on. That is just a big old bucket of gross looking nutrients. Anyway, so what I normally do is I'll take 2 of these, so it's about 2 cups, and give it a scoop. And our poor long-suffering rosemary bush here. Go ahead and dollop it on. Now, what I normally like to do with this is wait until my evening watering. I'll give everything a nice deep watering in the evening when it's gotten colder. So you know, you're not doing it in the middle of the afternoon where the water is evaporating. So the water will sort of take care of the plant's basic needs, and then we are going to let it sit and then put the fertilizer on afterwards. It's sort of like when you take a pill on an empty stomach versus taking a pill on a full stomach. That's all it is. It's just going to get more nutrients if you water it first. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You can do this about every month or so, every 3 weeks maybe. I would say, given what we talked about in the last episode, if you want to trim your plants back, it would be a good idea to have some of this sitting in the fridge ready to go, and you can just put it on that evening. Give them a little bit of an extra bump so they grow back in a little bit stronger. But yeah, that's about it for the fertilizer. Don't drink this. I shouldn't have to say that, because why would you? Look at it. So that's about all for us today for this episode of Florimegoria. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have, I appreciate it. And yeah, happy planting, guys. We'll see you next time.